Good afternoon, everyone. We are here for week 2 of Coach Monken's press conferences. This week, we are previewing our game against ULM this Saturday, 1:30 p.m. at Michie Stadium. Coach, if you'd like to start us off with an opening statement.
Good afternoon. We're once again just thrilled for the opportunity to play this weekend with college football and college sports in general in the state of our world, our nation. We are thrilled to be playing this game and have an opportunity for our players. I thought last weekend our guys played really well. They're as I anticipated, we found 100 things wrong that we got to fix, and we're going to work on those this week. But very pleased just with the effort that our guys put into it, and I thought for a team that hadn't had a chance to be together in spring practice, and particularly our defense, who really just had the benefit only of walkthroughs and a few weeks of practice leading up to the game, I thought we played really well. So happy with the opening game, but there's a tremendous amount that we've got to improve on, and we're going to need to this week. This team we're playing is a very athletic team, very well coached team. Very impressed with them as a program and the job Coach Viator's done. They create some issues for defenses with what they do on offense, and just really good and really creative. Defensively, very athletic. A defensive coordinator now that has some experience playing against the option, and you know that's always a concern, because I think one of the advantages of playing this offense or running this offense is the fact that it's not seen by other teams as often as I guess whatever you'd call traditional offense these days. But he's got some experience with it, and so I know that they're going to have their team ready, and I'm sure because it's their opening game, just sky high and excited about playing, just as our guys were on Saturday.
So now we'll open things up to questions. We will start here in-house with Rich DeMarco, but a reminder to all those that are on the teleconference, when I prompt you to ask your question, make sure you unmute and then remute your line. Very important, so we don't get any feedback. With that, Rich.
Thanks, Rachel. Coach, just after a couple of days, just looking back on Saturday, what were your impressions of, I know it was maybe a game day unlike any other you had experienced here, but just top to bottom, your impressions of that experience on Saturday?
Well, one, I'm just grateful to our institution, Jen Williams, our athletic department, Mike Buddy and his staff, for creating the opportunity for us to play, to figure out a way to get our students back here and have classes and be a university, and to be able to get them to the game and to be able to enjoy that and experience that victory with us. I mean, it was fantastic. It's obviously different not having an entire crowd in there, but I thought our Corps of Cadets was fantastic, and we were excited to play. It was a beautiful day, and I thought our guys played as well as could be expected in an opening game without having had the typical spring practice and the normal summer that we've been accustomed to.
And Jeff, after watching the tape over the past couple of days, Tyrell Robinson, just your thoughts on his performance and what he was able to do in his first college football game.
That kid's he's a lightning bolt, man. He's fast and quick, and I think a really good player. And hopefully it'll improve, and he'll just continue to get better. I think he's got a great future ahead of him. We certainly had, the thought that we were going to give him a chance to help us win the football game, and he did. He from his opening run, the first play that he took that reverse and made that guy miss. I mean, that should have been a really, by all rights, a dead play. That player for Middle Tennessee was in great position, and Tyrell just made a great move and made him miss and got positive yards, and he really had some good plays on Saturday. So I'm excited he's on our team, and again, things he can improve on for sure, but what a great start.
Thanks, Coach.
And our first question from the teleconference line from Charles Grievous.
Good afternoon, Coach. There are several scenarios that can go into a sophomore, even a freshman seeing receiving quality game reps early in the season, which obviously occurred this past Saturday against Middle Tennessee. Can you talk a little bit about what that might say about where the maturation of the program is as it relates to the overall recruiting, the coaching staff and Army, and just the program in general?
For the most part, Charles, our roster, or I should say our starting lineup and pretty much the two deep is made up of guys who have been around that are juniors and seniors. We've got some sophomores sprinkled in there. You know, certainly guys like Fabrice Voyne, who comes to mind, Marquel Broughton, those guys, and those guys are good players, and really they feel like veteran players to us. It's not they don't feel like, you know, we're throwing a rookie out there without experience, but neither of those guys, and there's several others. A guy like Conor Bishop, who made his first start and really the first significant snaps he's ever had at center for us, was our player of the game. You know, there's some guys sprinkled in there, but we do have some veteran players, and I'm excited that we've got that experience and the leadership. But I'm encouraged that we've got enough good young players that we're able to play them as well, and guys like Tyrell Robinson and Isaiah Alston are finding their way into the ball game and getting a chance to play. And there's guys on defense that are probably going to start to emerge, just guys that have some ability that is pretty special. So, you know, for us to have guys like that is I think a bonus.
Great. And my follow-up and final question, the Warhawks are coming in with an inexperienced personnel at quarterback, but a very solid talent at running back spot, particularly led by Josh Johnson. What do you know about them offensively that might concern you?
They're very athletic, and we've got some coaches on our staff that coached against them a year ago, two different places and two different schools that are now here on our staff, and just great respect that they have for them as a program and their coaching staff. They do a great job on offense. They're very imaginative. They spread the ball around, and they've got a number of running backs that I think are very talented and good players. Just overall, just watching them on special teams and how well they run and cover kicks. They're a very athletic, fast football team.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, Charles.
Next question from Ken McMillan. All right, we'll skip to Ken Kreitzer. We'll come back to Ken McMillan.
Good afternoon, Coach. Ken Kreitzer, Sons of the American Legion Radio. First question is just about your center, the sophomore Conor Bishop. You gave an award, I saw on Twitter, for his play. Tell us about how he did and how you thought the offensive line did on Saturday, if you would.
I thought the offensive line really played a good game, and he wasn't the only one, but he just stood out because it's his first start and he's playing a new position. A year ago as a freshman, we practiced him some with the travel squad. He may have got a rep or two on PAT field goal protection, but he was playing offensive guard, and we felt like just in assessing who we had, the personnel, that he was one of the best players that we have at this point, and wanted to get him on the field. And the most logical place to put him, based on the experience of the other guys we have, is center. And so he learned a new position. He learned to play snapping the ball, which isn't easy. And he's just really done a good job this preseason camp. He's got a lot of improvements to make, as you'd expect out of a guy that's playing a brand new position. But I thought he did a nice job. He had 20 knockdowns, which is a lot in one game. But Mike Johnson, who played right next to him at left guard, also had 20 knockdowns. Peyton Reeder, J.B. Hunter, they both had double-digit knockdowns. So I thought the offensive line really played a good game, and it's just a really solid performance overall for a first game, and that not just the offensive line but everybody. But I'm always glad to see those guys playing well and being recognized for the job they do, because often it's a thankless job that it doesn't go noticed until something bad happens. Usually, if they're doing their job and they're blocking people, there's a whole bunch of other people on the team getting a lot of credit for scoring touchdowns and making plays.
And Coach, the Louisiana-Monroe coach, Matt Viator, had experience very successful at McNeese State, but they've been going through a lot of adversity between COVID, the hurricane, and I understand they had to change defensive coordinators last week. What do you think about their preparations for this game?
I'm sure they'll be ready. They had practiced before they had the break, and now we'll have had a couple of weeks to get ready for us. Matt's a veteran coach and knows his team. He's recruited all those guys, so I know he'll have them ready. I think sometimes when you get a little break, it's sometimes a blessing in disguise. You get guys a little bit healthy, and you have a tendency to get banged up in preseason camp, and I'm sure that he would have liked to have had to practice, but they've probably got a pretty fresh and healthy team as well.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, Ken.
Next question from Ralph Russo of the AP.
Hey, Jeff, congratulations on the win. So last night, Kenny, Coach Newmont at Navy, had said that he was a little reluctant to practice his team very physically leading into this season. I'm certainly not asking you to critique what his decision was, but I would like to know, how did you balance that coming into this season as far as, well, some of the uncertainty? How much should I hit because maybe I won't be playing until middle of September? And not to mention some things, balancing some things out with the balance. So when you talked about hitting and being physical leading up to the season, what was your mindset?
Ours was to try to get our guys to play football as quickly as we could in camp. Because we had missed spring practice, we had a lot of guys on our roster that we needed to find out about. We didn't know a lot about them. They were freshmen a year ago and played on our scout team, and typically in the spring we have that opportunity to evaluate them and really find out the pecking order and who might be not necessarily starters. I think most of the time we've got a pretty good idea of based on the veteran players who they might be, but finding out about those guys who weren't on the travel squad and didn't get a chance to really develop through their freshman season. So we wanted to find out about them and get our guys back in the groove of playing football. So we took every precautionary measure that we were guided to, from the way we served our meals to how we housed our players during preseason camp. If you came into our building, you'll still see the arrows on the floor. We continue to use the protocols in terms of how we move about the building, wearing masks, washing our hands. We've got I guess you'd call them portable hand washing stations out at our practice field, on the sideline for games. Just trying to take every precautionary measure that we can, but we wanted to play football, and so we approached camp really like we would any other preseason camp, and we're fortunate to be here in this environment. We do have I guess a self-imposed bubble where all of our living quarters, our dormitories, as you'd call them at traditional colleges, are here on our campus, and all of our students live in the dorms. They all eat in the cafeteria, or what we call the mess hall. So there are limited touch points, our team and our students, outside of this campus. We've got our our own community here. We've got our own gas station, grocery store, Subway, Starbucks, Burger King. The people that live here, which include all of our coaches and our families, there's not a great need for us to go out into the community and leave the campus as often as a coach or his family might at a traditional college. So we've been able to maintain this bubble, and it's pretty unique. And we've been able to stay healthy and really have, I guess, quote unquote, normal preseason camp.
And if there's one just quick follow-up there, so what you were saying on the football field, and as far as the hitting and things along those lines, it was business as usual.
Business as usual.
Great. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Let's return to Ken McMillan. Ken McMillan, do you have questions?
Hi, Jeff. The Louisiana-Monroe coach said yesterday that they plan to rotate a lot of people through the lineup since it's a non-conference game, including the quarterback. What kind of problems does this present in preparation?
I don't know. I don't know that them using a lot of people creates preparation issues, but having that kind of depth is certainly advantageous. I don't know that we can rotate 3 and 4 people at each position here, and that's no knock on our guys that are the 3rd and 4th string guys. But I think the starters are starters for a reason, and we're going to have to play the very best guys we have at the top of our roster, the top of our depth charts, to have a chance to beat Louisiana-Monroe. They are fast and athletic, and the matchups that they can create are concerning. And it doesn't matter if it's their first guy or their 4th guy. Like I said, I watch them on special teams, and special teams isn't always made up of guys that are starters across the board on offense and defense, but they got a bunch of guys that cover kicks and return punts and kicks, and just very athletic, a very athletic football team. They're very well coached, and those are issues enough for us. I don't know that, and I don't know enough about each one of those guys that you're talking about, and certainly I don't think Matt's going to give away when he's going to use certain backs or certain receivers, certain linemen, or guys in the secondary, or personnel groups on defense. We won't know, but I'm going to assume that when they roll in there, that they've got a certain philosophy on offense or defense that they'll probably stick with. It's just they have enough confidence in other guys to come in and do the things that they want to do. So that when somebody has that kind of depth, it's certainly advantageous for them and a challenge for us, because I guess keep them pretty healthy and having their engines gassed up.
You mentioned in your opening statement that there were mistakes that you wish to clear up, but what did you learn about your team, and were there any real surprises?
I don't know that I would call them a surprise. Some performances by guys that I guess we were really pleased with. To see some of the young guys that had never started before, that were really playing for the first time in their career at their positions, I was very encouraged to see Julian McDuffie and Caleb John, who've been around the program. Those guys got their first start at corner. Conor Bishop, who we've mentioned, the freshmen like Isaiah Alston and Tyrell Robinson. I was thrilled to see Amadeo West back out there playing again, and how much he means to this team and the leadership he's provided for this program over the last 8 months or so. Just incredible guy, and glad he's on our team. So I thought Christian Anderson and Jamel Jones both played really well at quarterback. There's some young running backs like Anthony Atkins and Jacoby Buchanan. Those guys are both freshmen a year ago. Just the maturity and being able to play a little bit more. Cedric Cunningham, I thought, played a great football game. He's really been a backup since he's been here, and it's nice to see him kind of come into his own there. John Radigan making a great play. His first start of his career. He's a senior. So, I mean, I could go on about a lot of guys, but I don't know if they're surprises. We really have kind of recognized that those guys were developing and that they were going to have a chance to help us, and I'm just glad they played well. And I thought we played as well as we could have expected in an opening game. As I said, there's 100 things that need fixing, and we're going to work on them this week. But I think that's the case often in an opening game. I'm pleased that we were able to win the game and still make some of the mistakes that we made.
And another question from Ken.
Yeah, Coach. Are there any personnel updates? How did we do on injury? Are there going to be people back in the lineup who missed the opener?
There will be. We had several guys nicked up during preseason camp, and I guess it's one of the things about preseason camp is if there's a lot of contact and a lot of hitting, which typically in our camps there is, guys get nicked up and dinged up, and probably way more than I would have hoped. And I don't want anybody to get hurt. I hate to see kids getting hurt, whether it's ours or anybody else's. But we'll get some of those guys back this week, and I think that'll just help our depth. And there's a couple of those guys that are starters that we're expecting to have back, so it'd be good to have them back in the lineup.
You couldn't have asked for a better start on Saturday. I know it's not your style here, but how do you protect against overconfidence and facing a new foe?
Overconfidence. Jeez, if our guys are overconfident, they don't do a great job of self-evaluating. I'm not too keen on our guys allowing themselves to wear their arms out, patting themselves on the back. There are way too many things that we can do better and going to need to do better against Louisiana-Monroe if we're going to have a chance to beat them. So that was an opening game. We had some things go our way. We were very fortunate that we got some turnovers and had a short field. We overcame some things on offense, but there are things in every phase that we can do a whole lot better, and we're going to need to as the season goes along. Every team's going to improve. Every team that's playing is going to get better from week to week, and if we don't, we're going to find ourselves disappointed.
Do you plan on running the quarterback spot the same way this week, and what might be the update on Jabari Laws?
It's probably going to look a lot like it did this week. I was glad we were able to get Jamel in there and get him some work. He got thrown into the fire a year ago, late in the season. I'd much rather play a backup quarterback when we want to, rather than being forced to because of injury or other reasons. So it's good to see him get some work, and we'll just have to see what happens with the rest of the depth, including Jabari.
Thank you.
All right, I think that's it then. If we have any further questions, but I want to thank you, Coach, for joining us for this press conference, and thanks for everyone that dialed in.